Before we get to our episode, I want to take a moment to tell you about a platform that is revolutionizing the way SMP artists market their clinics, and best of all, you don't need to spend money on ads to use it. The platform is called HighLead, and it's a complete sales and marketing system created by an SMP artist that is guaranteed to generate more bookings for your clinic. HighLead helps you capture, nurture, and close more business with dozens of features, including your own website chat widget, a unified text message, phone, and email marketing system, a review management system, helpful automations, and so much more. And beyond that, HighLead's team gives you one-on-one sales and marketing training, step-by-step onboarding calls, and responsive support. If you're ready to fill your pipeline with quality SMP leads, check out HighLead right now at gohighlead.com. You can get access to a 20-minute overview video to see behind the scenes or book a live one-on-one demo with the founder to get all your questions answered with absolutely no risk or obligations. Check out gohighlead.com today. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Scalp Solutions Podcast. I am your host, David Santiago, and today I got a treat. And I say I'm a treat because this guy, I've been watching him for a very long time. I'm pretty sure a lot of artists have been watching him, and it was super important for me to bring him on to the podcast today, not only because of the experience that he brings, but the way that he carries himself. And he has something in his arsenal that a lot of artists, there's a big misconception that they just believe that they can't conduct themselves the way that this gentleman does and be able to move and shake within the industry, excuse me. So before we even dive into all of that, let me introduce my guest, Mr. Don White. What's up, my brother?
What's up, everybody? What's up, David? How you doing, brother?
Listen, I'm doing good. I'm doing even better that I finally got you on. I know you're a busy man, and I congratulate you for all the success and everything that you got going on within the industry.
You too, man. I always wanted to make time for you. I know you're doing big things to expose this industry. You know what I'm saying? Put the people out there that need to be out there and help grow this thing like it needs to be grown, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Man.
Absolutely, my brother. So again, I appreciate you for taking out some time to jump on the podcast and chop it up with me and bring a little bit of value, to the industry. So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
So, John, how long have you been in the industry?
So I've been in the industry about 4 years. I got into the industry actually as a client, right? It's like that classic hair club for men type.
Yeah,
of
I'm
thing.
not only the president,
I'm the owner, right? So I had a buddy, man, and he had introduced scalp micropigmentation to me. I saw it. I saw some results. For those of you that don't know, my partner in crime, Chris Herrera, I saw some of his early results, and I'm like looking at my scalp after a couple photos at a party, and I'm like, man, I can't have my hair looking like that, man. So I reached out to him, and to make a long story short, after getting the procedure done, I approached him about doing some marketing, some business development and whatnot. And he presented the idea of doing scalp micropigmentation to me. Now, back in college, I had done some light hair cutting, the kind of the dorm room barber. Hey, can you line me up? Hey, can you fade me up? Sure, I got you, right? But I had never really fallen in love with barbering because, as a guy coming out of the inner city of Detroit, my parents had spent so much money and time trying to make sure that I ended up, doing the 4 years of school, like that super traditional, career path, that I could never go home and say, I'm going to leave that behind and go become a barber. Right? Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'm a barber.
Yeah. There's like one or two guys in the city of Detroit that are doing big things barbering, right? So that just wasn't the thing, right? So I did 12 years in corporate America, right? Started from the bottom as a customer service rep, and literally graduated all the way into an executive role where I was working with top dogs in the area. Most importantly, I would encourage anyone, no matter what you're doing right now, to really pay attention to what you're passionate about, right? I wasn't passionate about the work that I was doing. I kind of fell out of love. So it was a perfect storm when Chris started talking to me about micropigmentation because, I thought about it like, here I am, a guy suffering from hair loss. I got this amazing procedure done. At the time, my cousin was also in town. He had a little piece of his hairline missing. He was in modeling, and he's like, no, I'm flying from California to your last session. I need to see this in person. And so he ended up sitting down in the chair as soon as I got out of the chair. And I'm like, this is all adding up to something that I think could be very lucrative, and people just don't know about it, right? And I dove right in head first, and that was right about that 4-year mark, man.
4-year mark into knowing about scalp micropigmentation?
Into doing scalp micropigment. I literally
Oh,
dove in
when
a
you
couple
just
months
went
later,
all
bro.
in.
Like, it
Got
was literally like, get the procedure done. 2-3 months later, I was training.
So now talk to me about that transition. How was it from you coming from corporate America into SMP? Because this is two totally different cultures. Like, yeah, we have some certain aspects that, you know, you can bring it forward with you, but at the end of the day, it's two totally different cultures.
Yeah, man. It's so one of the biggest things that a lot of people, and I'll be frank, a lot of Black guys, a lot of minorities, especially like that are in the urban culture, have to do in corporate America, is it's known as code switching, right? We have to go in, we have to speak proper, carry ourselves a certain way, leave our chains, leave our swag, everything at the door, in order to get ahead. And so one of the biggest pieces coming from that environment into scalp micropigmentation was that, number one, I'll be able to, really be myself. I'll, number two, be able to utilize all the experience, all the knowledge that I've gained from school, all the knowledge I've gained professionally, and kind of take all that and use it to my advantage, right? It's not someone else controlling, what they need at the time, or really even just not utilizing some of your skill set, right? I talked about creative side, some of the hair cutting and things I used to do. You're never using that in corporate America. And so I had taken a look at some other folks that had separated from corporate America to go do their own thing. One young lady who spent a lot of time as a corporate photographer. Of course, she wasn't being paid as a corporate photographer, but she was excellent at her work, well sought after across the entire company, Fortune 50 company. And when she was forced to break away from the company, she went out. She's a published photographer, known internationally for her portrait work. And so I said to myself, I know what she's cut from. She's cut from my cloth, literally. She used to work for me. So I know I can do this, right? And so it became one of those things where that transition was not only about believing in the skill set that I had, acquired over that decade plus of work. It was about just believing in myself and what I'm capable of doing. And I feel like a lot of people that get into SMP, they forget to check that at the door, right? They think that this is going to be something that they're going to get in. They see the cars, they see the jewelry, the nice clothes, the experiences that we're fortunate and blessed to have as SMP artists, and they think that it comes easy or that it comes immediately, right? Not knowing that, man, people watch you sometimes for years before they come in and get these procedures done. I had a guy hit me up, said he found my car from pre-pandemic, and he's been watching me that long, and now he finally wants to get the procedure done. So, man, that transition from corporate America to SMP, it's one of those really of self-belief. Obviously, your support system. I myself had a very supportive wife who knew what I had done in corporate America. And I think a lot of people believe just because you do it in a corporate environment means that you can't do it outside of a corporate environment. I was one that believed I can do it anywhere, right? If I did it once, I'll do it again. And so here I am, man. I literally just dove in head first.
You swan dived in.
I did, man. I
Hey,
did. And that's the only way to do it, man. Some of the most successful people I know in this industry, they literally just went cold turkey. If they were cutting hair, they put the clippers down and they started doing SMP, or they made a conscious effort to make that transition, which is another thing that I don't think a lot of people do, right?
I
Leave
love
that for another topic.
I love that, man. That was, I like to get into that because I also know that you come from a training perspective, and I appreciate that you even bring that up, because you would think, right? I think what a lot of people think is that as trainers, you just go out there like, oh, you can do this, you got this. But then here we are, right? We're having this conversation and you're legit saying like, nah, bro, 3 days is cool. Like, yeah, you're gonna get the fundamentals. But if you don't
Of
have
course.
that drive and you're not willing to jump in chest first the way I did, there's no way you're gonna ever be standing up in the front.
There's no way. There's no way. And it doesn't matter your background, right? I got a guy who's one of my students who was tired of swinging a hammer. He owned a construction company. He was tired of swinging a hammer. So he's highly skilled with his hands, right? He dove in head first. He has an office. He does clients. But, if he was still, on construction sites trying to book SMP clients, I mean, it just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? What person do you know that can manage both? It's impossible to do. You have to dive in and give it your all. Be passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's safe to say that your transition, you're happy with where you're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, no, because and I say that lightly, right? I'm never going to be complacent, right? I always look at it as there's always another level to what you can be doing, right? I look at my wife, for instance. When we originally looked at moving to Washington, D.C., my wife, for those of you that don't know, is one of the top executives, Black women executives in television. Okay. We started off taking these night trips from Detroit to Washington, D.C., so she could be in the lobby or in an after hour, what do you call those, like happy hour or after five
bars and stuff.
Yeah, with just some of the players in the industry. And she literally worked her way up from the bottom. I'm talking the assignment desk, right? I don't know if you know the assignment desk, probably, right? Because they're usually calling the police officers to get, tips on stuff that's going on, or, you guys may call in something that's going on. And she's worked her way literally step by step by step to being one of the most powerful women in television. And so, for me, that just shows me that you can always get better. You can always improve, right? So when I look at this industry, you got about 80 million people in the US alone that identify as suffering from some type of hair loss or alopecia, right? When I tell people, if you take, 10%, you take 0.1%, you're going to be sitting super pretty. And until I hit a number like that, I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy because I know it exists. It's out there. Right?
I'm smiling because, one, you sound like a real entrepreneur, right? We're never like, yeah, no, I'm not happy with that. Yeah, I want this. I'm there. I'm going to want more. But that number that you said, right? So what I took was, I always take 65 million, which is probably now at 80. I'm not saying, I'm not contesting that you're wrong, but I always say it's 65 million. It's a huge number. So I'm like 65 million. From what I was told, when you're dealing with big numbers like volume and you're looking for like what the business can do, right? You use 5%. I was like, I'm not even going to use 5%. I'm going to use 1%. So now we're talking about 650,000 clients. And now I'm like, what's the average SMP? All right, we're going to go with, let's just do 3,000 because that's what everyone likes to throw out there, 3,000. And then you look at that number and you like, whoa, that's 1.8 billion.
Yeah. Not to mention, David, I don't know, could you even service 650,000 people?
I never, not even in a lifetime.
Exactly.
No, right. So then you start dropping it down. And now you start, right? As an entrepreneur, you'll appreciate this because now you're like, well, I'm not doing this just by myself in the office.
Yeah.
Now I want to franchise this. So it's like, you put yourself out there and you start trying to put, and again, I'm sure, that's how we think. That's how, that's an entrepreneur mentality. So when you started saying that number, I'm smiling because you like, I'm taking a 10th of a 10th, and I'm like, that's still a ridiculous number. That's life-changing money right there.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So now, do you see yourself in the industry for another 5 years? And the reason I pose that question for you is because you're obviously an entrepreneur. You look like an entrepreneur. You have the mindset of an entrepreneur. Because you're not satisfied, right? You understand that complacency kills. So at some point, you're going to make even more money in SMP.
Of course.
And now this is me now, right? Now we want to be passive because we don't want to work no more we don't want to get paid for our time. So
like what I like to call
from that perspective.
I want to get to the point where I'm working in SMP and not on SMP. Or I should say, I want to get to a point where these two hands are not what I need to generate that income, right? Doing procedures, I love it. I get passion from it. You know, I love seeing the change on people's faces, you know, but you know, if I don't know, you wind up in some freak accident, you lose a finger, man, you're presented with some real life challenges at that point, right? So, you know, 5 years from now, of course, I see myself in the industry. However, 5 years from now, heck, I would love to be not doing procedures. I would love to be helping develop the industry, you know, establish some sort of gatekeeping in this industry to both protect the artists out there that actually do put out amazing work, that do well by their clients, and also to help the client that, you know, a lot of times they come into SMP kind of blindly and they're willing to let anybody who has a needle and some ink go at their scalp. And it ends up being this long, painful, costly road that if they had some way to understand what this industry is really about, they could have avoided all that from jump. So, you know, of course, I see myself in this industry 5 years from now.
Some sort of
Personally, in a
capacity,
different capacity.
just that, right, got you. So now, from is there a business aspect in the industry that you wish you were stronger at?
Uh, yeah. So, I mean, this industry right now is at a point where um, there are a lot of products that are floating around, right? And it's all something that you kind of learn by trial and error. But getting the right product in front of the person that needs that product, I wish I was stronger. And it's something that I'm literally working on every day to kickstart my 2023 is getting what needs to be in front of the person that needs it in front of them. From, you know, marketing, from doing some guerrilla stuff, getting the product in front of the person. Because again, like I said before, I hate when I see it's a guy in the lobby right now. True story. He lets his wife try SMP just because he sees it. He thinks, babe, you do makeup, you can do SMP. And it's like, bro, you have no idea. So he went through that long, painful road. He came in, hey, can you guys help me? It's like, you need to go get laser, get the procedure fixed. So yeah, I want to get, you know, what SMP really is out in front of the person. And, you know, until guys aren't out there giving us a bad name because they made a bad choice, you know, I take it personally that I did something wrong where he didn't know, or maybe he just thought it was okay to go spend, you know, $1,000 for a procedure,
Right.
or, you know, maybe he, you know, bit the the fable that you can get SMP done in one session. You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that might exist in some cases, but for a guy that's a Norwood 7, heck no, he can't do that. You know what I mean? So I, you know, I take it personally that those guys are still making that mistake. And so that's what I fought myself personally for, and that I'm seeking to
Push.
change.
You want to
Getting
push that out there. So now, do you are you coming at that from like a content creation perspective,
Yeah,
or
so
an
up into
overall?
content creation for sure. And also, well, yeah, I guess that will kind of fall into content creation. So, you know, answering these questions that people may have. You know, I'm going to be doing some other things. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but coming in the next few short weeks, coming up with a platform where people will be able to get reliable information. I don't necessarily care if you do business with me, but you know, I do care if you're out there giving my business a bad name, because it makes it that much more difficult for me to land the client that needs the procedure done. So
Right.
there's content creation, there's vetting these products and vetting, you know, different artists that I feel that are that do amazing work. You know, as you all may not know, I'm a member of the Blends Pro Team. The reason why that pro team was created is not only because we want to sell more ink, we want to sell, you know, our product, but we truly believe that we put out the absolute best product. We truly feel that the artists that we bring on represent a commitment to putting out the best work and not doing their customers wrong, right? So it's really about kind of setting up an environment where people can get information that they trust. People can, if one of the artists is in your area, maybe you'll latch onto that person more, for that reliable information. But at least I did my job by putting you in touch with somebody that's essentially not going to screw you over at the end of the day.
Got you.
Hey you guys, we are excited to share with you some very exciting news. We have created an online training platform that you can do in the palm of your hand.
With over 20 modules and nearly 80 lessons, this is the most comprehensive and detailed scalp micropigmentation course out there.
For those of you who can't travel here, maybe you're in other countries, you can now learn from your computer, you can sit at home, you can sit in a bus, and you can learn scalp micropigmentation with the greatest innovators in this industry.
Want to learn more? Click the link below.
Got you. And I want to move into something that kind of ties into the whole, like how you want to be able to put, be out there and put more into the people's face, the information and stuff like that. Because when you see that, you have a characteristic about you that separates you from a lot of other artists. And it's not with your skills and your capabilities as an SMP artist. And I bring this up because it's almost kind of like the elephant in the room, right? You're part of the Art of SMP brand.
Yes.
Everybody knows how your partner conducts himself and what he does and how he puts himself out there. He creates his content, and he's infamous for polarizing, which is an amazing marketing tool that a lot of people in the industry, they frown upon. Like, they don't realize, like, this exists for a reason. Like, many people polarize, and it's needed, right?
Yes.
Not a lot of people think it's ethical, whatever the hell. We don't care. The numbers don't lie, right?
Right.
So we have your partner, Chris Herrera, but now we got Don White, and Don White, like, you're in the cut, bro.
Yeah, man.
Deep
Bro,
in the cut.
People would never know my house costs over $1 million. I drive nice cars. I got 3 kids. But, from where I came from, it was tough to, really move. And that's from Detroit, right? Everything that you hear about the city is true, right? Crabs in the barrel, high crime, everything that you hear about it, it's true, right? So, growing up in that environment, it was like, all right, do you want to make yourself a target for others that are trying to eat? Or do you want to move as, quietly and carefully as you can, slowly stacking in the background until you can put yourself in a position to be out there, but then also be safe. You know what I mean? And so, for me, I choose to kind of put my content out there. People see what I represent. People know that meet me. I'm a wealth of information, train hundreds of students. I put out amazing work, but I just kind of like to, kind of stay to myself and, let my work do the talking at the end of the day. That's what I want people to know me for, is
awesome.
SMP.
And so now, could you take a little time and just address a new SMP artist that's coming into the game and feels compelled that they have to conduct themselves in the opposite manner that you just addressed? Because
of course,
I think a lot of these young guys that are coming in, and I say young meaning the experience, because we know we got some old heads
that jump in.
They're jumping in.
Yeah.
And I think they realize when there's this misconception when it comes to creating content that they have to be out there, and you are a testament that you don't have to. It's okay to be humble and in the cut and still be incredibly successful in this industry.
And so, I mean, even going back to corporate, right? When I would, do intercompany communications, between sales reps, between directors, between area presidents, the whole nine, I had to be myself. I couldn't be, showing up with a Rolex and, using that to get the message across. So, I don't feel that in this industry, anybody coming in needs to do that to get their message across, right? It's about, are you framing it in an attractive manner for your audience, period. So, you know, if you're the guy that has the audience where, you know, people are used to you being that way, then by all means, be that person. But if you're somebody that's coming in, and I'm not, you know, talking down on anybody, but you know, you don't wear the finest shoes, you don't wear the finest clothes, you know, let your work speak for itself. Well, people are gonna know you for that. And then, hey, if you had this dream of driving, you know, a M8, go buy the M8. That's your dream. That's your dream car. Drive it till the wheels fall off, right? But don't drive that M8 because you want somebody else to recognize, hey, David's driving an M8. No, drive it because that's what you want to drive. So if you want to drive, you know, I don't know, a freaking Ford Fiesta, drive the Ford Fiesta. That's you. You know, you want to go put your money somewhere else, that's you.
I drive a Subaru Outback, Don. What you think about that?
What I think about it is one of my best friends drive a Subaru Outback, and that thing is super reliable. And he drives it for that reason.
That's
He
exactly
likes the road
why.
trip, and he doesn't want to be on the side of the road on a road trip.
Yeah.
That's his thing, right? He's an outdoorsy guy. He loves the Subaru Outback.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I bring that up because I actually talking with Tame, and I told him, I was like, yo, I drive a Subaru Outback, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's just never been my style. Like I would never, like for me, and you know what I like to refer back to, because it took for me to see this video to kind of, not that I felt bad, but I was kind of like, yo, am I doing something wrong? Like, why is this so like, oh my God? And they show a video of Jeff Bezos with an like a news anchor or something, and he's driving in a Honda Accord, and at the time he's worth 13 billion.
Yes.
13 billion. And the guy asks him, but I have to ask you, Jeff, why the car? And if you've never seen this video, and whoever's listening, like just go look at the video. Like look at this man's face. Bro, he is so lost as to like
why would I?
Like what's so wrong with this car? And he looks at him and he goes, this is a perfectly good car. A Honda Accord, 13 billion.
So it's funny. One of my friends, he asked me, so I drive a Challenger, super customized Challenger. And he asked me, he's like, Don, like you already have 2 cars. Why did you go and buy a Challenger? And I said, I just wanted a toy. He was like, I'm glad you at least answered that question. Honestly, you didn't give me some bullshit answer about why, you know, I just wanted a toy to drive, you know. But my uncle is a millionaire. He's neighbors with Brett Favre, right? This dude was driving busted Chevy Suburban. Family member needed a car. He gave him the Suburban. He went and bought a used BMW, drove that busted BMW forever. And he recently, just like he bought his daughter going to college, a $70,000 Tesla, because it's nothing to him. This dude, I'm watching this guy, he only spends money on fishing gear. He loves to fish. He stays down south. He's always in the Gulf. He loves to fish. He'll spend, you know, $1,000 on a fishing rod or whatever they cost. That's because it's what he likes. He doesn't do the cars or whatever else to, you know, impress others. Like I said, if you're a new artist coming in and that's your thing, do it because it's your thing, not because it's what you want to show somebody else or you're trying to impress somebody else.
You're just trying to seek that validation.
Yeah, I was rocking chains when I was in college. You know what I'm saying? Instead of asking for certain stuff for Christmas, I asked the family to save up and get me a new chain or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So
what you got there now? Is that an Art Of SMP chain?
Nah, man. So this is the Spirit of Detroit. Actually custom designed this piece myself. So it has a lot of sentimental value. It says made in Detroit. It has the Spirit of Detroit, which is a statue that sits outside of City Hall. And it has my birth year on it, 1982. So this, you know, when I talk about that creative side, I also design jewelry as well.
Dope. 82, what month?
March the 1st, man.
Okay, I'm February 6th.
Oh yeah, right around the corner.
Same year. We OGs, but we ain't OGs.
Nah, man, I still move, man.
I hear you. So Don, let's tap into now a little more on the SMP side.
Of course.
Do you have an ideal client? Like, I only want to deal with Norwood 7s, or I just want to do hairlines, or you don't care?
I really love doing everything because it always keeps you on your toes. Now, I'm a black guy, right? Coming from my culture, I love doing hard edge ups. And here's why. Hard edge ups, I tell all of my students, they're not hard to do. And the reason I say that is because, you know, you're making a box, you're filling in the box, but there's still, you know, certain nuances and things that you have to do during that procedure in order to make that natural, I'm sorry, that hard edge up look natural, right? But coming from my culture, when I tell you that guys come in and they are less than, I mean, they're just like head down, you know, walking in, and they get that shape up, then they step out in the public with that shape up. And one of my clients put it best. I said, dude, how's the procedure been? You know, how's everybody liked it? He was like, nobody liked it. And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? Like, I heart start beating and start sweating. Like,
Yeah. Where I go wrong?
he said the best compliment was the fact that I got no compliments. Everybody's looking at me like I look like a normal guy. Like, this is my normal thing, right?
That's it.
Exactly. And so for me and my culture, the hard edge up is where it starts and stops. You know what I'm saying? And so that's essentially what I love doing. One client over the next. I love the hard edge up. I can do both, and I love the hard edge up, man.
It's so crazy because the hard edge up gets such a shit rap.
Oh, it does. Blockhead, Lego head. I've heard it all.
Yeah. It's so wild. And like I say it, and you know, I have it scheduled for the topic to like really go into it, but like now that you just went into it, it's like the cultural disconnect is so crazy.
It is.
Because these people don't realize, listen, whether we put that hard hairline on, that it looks, whatever you call it, a blockhead or not, that person's going to go to a barber. He's going to tell him Beijing, the living crap out of my.
Yep.
That's the thing.
That's what it is.
They want to walk around like that. That's part of it.
Yeah, it's what they want. If you want green hair, go get green hair. But I think it ties into, you know, hip hop culture, urban culture. Just within the last 2 to 3 years, hip hop became the largest selling music in the world, right? The highest grossing music in the world. With that comes the fashion. With that comes the chains, the jewelry, the shoes, the cars, everything that your favorite hip hop artist is glorifying. And that includes the hard edge up, which was born in urban culture. So now that you have this international expansion of hip hop culture, so follows our hairlines. And you're getting more people in Europe, in Asia, that are like, well, what is this hard edge up? Well, maybe it doesn't look so bad because I see all the guys in this culture that I love rocking this hairstyle. Well, let me see what's really going on with it. Maybe it doesn't look so bad, you know? That type of thing. Like they've seen it enough that now they start to embrace it for what it is.
Embracing it, exactly. It's just like, you know, the same way that society's changes and you start accepting certain things. Now I feel like people want the hard edge up. And I got this guy right here, ABS, right? He's a rapper and he's obviously one of my poster boys. And where I'm at, it's predominantly Caucasian. There's a mix, right? I'm originally from the Bronx, but you know, I segregated and sought out some.
You want to stay safe, right? You got to.
I sought out some civilization.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to find them more now when I ask them, you know, like, hey, you know, do you have an idea of the kind of hairline that you want? This is just me now assuming like, oh, you want a natural hairline, and they'll point right there. They'll go, I want that.
Yeah.
Show you, yeah, oh yeah, I want that nice, clean look. And I'm like, oh, okay. And we're talking about like 40, 53-year-old Caucasian male, like car dealerships, like, you know what I mean? Like we're talking about, you know, and you get this in the industry is like, oh, it's got to be age appropriate. And it's kind of like,
what does that mean?
What the does that mean?
Culture appropriate. Yeah. I got 60, 65-year-old guys that get hard edge ups because what the culture dictates.
Yeah. I
said what they walk into church on Sunday and all the young guys are looking at them like, oh man, I need to go to the barber once a week. This old guy, he's crispy clean with his nice suit on, right? So, you know, I enjoy doing it for that reason. It's what our culture is all about. It's about the hard edge up, point blank, period. And so when you talk about, you know, that artist coming in and kind of, if they're looking to do that hard edge up, like we have ways of doing it now where it really, really looks natural. Like you can get that shape and not have it look like a Sharpie was used to draw your hairline on, or that postcard with the enhancer, fibers, vegan, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, the spray, topics, all of that. You can avoid that look. So, you know, now just the stuff that I'm putting out is absolutely amazing. You know, guys are literally out in the society. They don't have to tell anybody anything. Yeah, it kind of sucks for me because I'm like, hey, why don't you go tell, you know, 100 of your friends that you got SMP done? But at the same time, I had a guy call me a few days ago. He's like, man, I had no clue that I've been watching this whole time. And I got guys in my neighborhood that have come to get your work. And I didn't even know they had it done because it looks so natural. So, you know, it is what it is. I'll catch them one way or another, man. You know.
So, Don, before we wrap things up, brother, I would like for you to give some advice to any artist that's thinking about coming into the industry who wants to avoid having to follow, you know, those artists that really want to just be out there screaming, floss and shining. And again, we're not saying that that's wrong. I'm not hating, you know, that's your lane, travel on it. But we want to talk about how you've managed to finesse it and still be at where you're at. What would be your advice?
You have to obviously have good work, right? It means you have to put the practice in, you got to put the hard work in to actually have a nice, solid product that people are going to want. That's step one, right? A lot of people get in, they think I'll take a 3-day training and I'm gonna start doing SMP and I'm gonna be amazing at it. Doesn't always work out that way, right? It never works out that way, actually. You got to practice and put the work in. Secondly, be yourself, build an organic following, right? Talk to the people that are around you, talk to the people that are in your existing network, the people who, you know, you may meet on a Friday night. They're in the same space that you're in because you share similar interests, right? I'm not knocking golf people, but I'm not going to the golf club on a Friday night wearing all black. It's not my thing, right? So I'm going to network with the people who are in the places that I go to. That's also key. And man, you don't think that it's going to come easy. It's not going to come easy. I spent nights, I'll be here until, 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. at night. Fortunately, I don't have to do that anymore, but early on, it was tough. You know what I mean? You're gonna mess up some of your clients. One of the things that I do to train my students is teach them how to mess up, but not put your client in a position where you can't bail them out. You know what I mean?
Got you.
So, don't be afraid to work on skin. If you don't feel your skills are there, well, then stay within the parameters that to work in. Don't take some crazy, outlandish risk trying to do something that's outside of your skill set, right? And then always look at your favorite artists, pick 5 artists, right, that put out amazing work that you like how they move, and recreate what they do, right? No one's going to fault you for that. There are plenty of artists in hip hop that have $1 million careers. There are plenty of golfers in golf that have never won a golf tournament. There are plenty of basketball players that have never won an NBA championship, yet they're still looked at as legends. They're still looked at as an authority, right? Somebody that knows what they're talking about, an expert, all of that stuff, right? So you can do it by being yourself. If somebody tried to put Charles Barkley, I don't know if you know about his story, right? He was going to go work for NBC. His agent called him. I'm sorry, his contact at NBC called him and said, Charles, I don't think you're going to work over here, man. You're a little bit too, big of a personality, for lack of a better term, to fit on NBC. I think you're making a mistake by signing with us. He calls his agent, says, I need that contract over at TNT. Could you imagine a censored Charles Barkley? His career would never be the same.
Would have never been where he's at now.
Never, right? So he was able to be himself. He's never won a title, but he's still Barkley, right? He's still a household name. He does shit for Subway. He does shit for everybody, man. Everybody wants a piece of Charles Barkley because he's himself, right? Same way other people want a piece of Michael Jordan. He's flashy. People want a piece of this basketball player because they're flashy. Everybody, there's a flavor for everybody in the world, man.
Yeah, that's awesome perspective, man.
You can't find somebody, then you're not looking hard enough, because they're out there at the end of the day.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. That's a good perspective, man. And I'm sure a lot of people don't really look at it. Everybody wants to be the top dog. Don't realize number 4, 5, and 6 still is in a position that they weren't in many years ago.
Heavyweight, man. Heavyweight. I mean, hell, your boy Barkley turned down hundreds of millions to go overseas and commentate for a reason. He's eating over here, man. He's eating over here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. Before we wrap it up, let everybody know where they can find you, any social media handles, website.
Absolutely. So you can find me at the Art of SMP MD for Maryland on Instagram. Visit our site, Scout Micropigmentation MD. If it's too long for you to spell, go to my Instagram, click on the link tree, and you can find everywhere that I'm at right there, brother.
Dope. Thank you for that, Don. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Scalp Solutions podcast. Again, a big thank you to my guest, Don Whyte. I appreciate you for taking on, taking some time from your busy schedule to jump on the podcast and, provide some value, not only to me, but to the rest of the community.
Of course, man, it was fun. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
All right.
Right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Until the next time. Peace.